Hi, and welcome to this installment of Frank and Mary here on Nantucket. If you haven't seen this show before, my name is Art Bergeron. My day job is as an elder law attorney at Myrick O'Connell. Myrick O'Connell, there are 70 of us, and so everybody gets to do what they like, and I do nothing but elder law. But this show is not about elder law. It's about my friends Frank and Mary. If you've been to the Salt Marsh or seen any of my presentations, you know that Frank and Mary's goal in life is to live in their house until they die and be buried in the backyard. And if that's on Nantucket, that means you never want to leave here. You don't want to go to the mainland. You definitely don't want to go to the other island. You want to stay right here. And so the point of this show is to let you know the people you need to know and the programs that you need to know about in order to do that, to stay right here. So right now, one of the people you really need to know is Brenda Johnson. Now, and by the way, as you know, my co-host Allison Forsgren usually finds all these great guests in Nantucket, but she is right now in California. So I'm doing the show today. Brenda Johnson, who is a Nantucket person who has been here for a long time, one of those unusual people, is working on the present and future of our island home, which I will ask her to get into a little bit more. But first, Brenda, once again, for the folks who have seen you and who don't know you, can you just tell us how you got here and ended up doing what you're doing right now and kind of what your official title is?
Well, thank you very much, Arthur. I got here by my family. My family's from Nantucket, and I went to school here. Wanted to be a nurse because Goldie Howes was my grandmother's best friend, and so I became a nurse just like Goldie. Had no idea what she did though. And then I ultimately ended up working 45 years at the hospital as a registered nurse in all capacities. In the last 5 or 6 years of my tenure there, which ended in 2020, was as the clinical project director for the new hospital. And I had the privilege and pleasure of working with the entire staff, administration, community members, and architects as it relates to designing the internal workings of the new facility that you presently see now. So I've since retired from the hospital, and I work with Joe Topham during the day. He's an architectural designer. And the town came to me and asked me if I would be willing to do this project. And for me, this is a blast. I'm loving it because there are other ways of taking care of patients besides just putting your hands on them. So I see this as a continuation of my ability to care for the people of Nantucket through the design of the new island home.
And what's amazing is when you were, I remember we met and you told me about that background. I said, talk about a perfect set of skills and experience to be able to do this, to actually have been kind of managing in some ways, or really participating in the management of the design and construction of the hospital, which was even bigger, right? In terms of really causing you to have an interest in, not what's cute, right? Because you're a nurse, but what works, and really being able to design a new space that works, as opposed to so often, you're inevitably, you're trying to cram things into an old space and trying to make it work, right?
Right.
So
right.
that's going to be that's going to be a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. And what was really more fun, besides working with the architects, with the staff, was to work with the community members. So for instance, the architect would come to us and say, Brenda, the oncology suite, I think we need a big room with lights and, skylights. And so I went back to my friends and people that I knew that were receiving chemo. And we talked about the benefits of having a big space or private rooms. And so ultimately we ended up listening to the residents, the patients, and gave them private rooms for privacy for their family and their clergy and their healthcare providers, and it worked out well. So there's a lot of, I guess I can't say enough for the voice of the residents and family members and community when it comes to designing a space. And that was the fun part, to get the teams together and have everybody participate. And that goes for designing, what do you want this building to feel like when you walk in? What kind of sense of feeling do you want? Do you want peace? Do you want it to have restful spaces to be visiting with your family members? Do you want communal spaces so that groups can get together? So those are all conversations that are being had in the planning, thinking about phase, because you always have to start programmatically when you're trying to figure out where you want to build anything. You don't just go to build a house and say, well, let's build a house and then figure out what we want in it. You usually have to figure out what you want in it and then build it around it. So fun.
And I think that's a special challenge. It's got to be a special challenge here because there's so much community investment in the our island home. I mean, it's as many people on this show have heard me say, or at the Salt Marsh, the island home is my favorite nursing home that I've ever been to. And it's the one that I always use as an example when I'm in other places of, you really need this. You need this. And what I always say is, it isn't about, the doors in the front that sometimes, I remember the first time I went there and the door kind of didn't work and it was stuck and I was like, I don't know about this place. But then you get in and you're talking to the folks there and you just have just a positive feel about it, and it's just really, really important. So I think that's got to be a special challenge, trying to make the place that, right? To make a new place be that. So can you talk a little bit about kind of how you got to be at this point in all of this process, and then talk a little bit about, from your perspective, what you see coming? It seems to me, I think when we talked, you were talking about the fact that there's probably going to be a discussion of this at town meeting, because there's going to be an article on this. So can you just kind of talk about what you've done to this point, and then talk about what you're seeing between now and town meeting?
So what we did when Libby asked me if I would be willing to work with the town on this project is we reached out to a lot of the stakeholders and influencers, people that have been working with the elder community for a very long time and were presenting this at town meeting last year, I believe it was. So I met with that group of people and I got their ideas. I heard what works, what doesn't work, what they like, what they don't like. And, I sort of keep a running track. And then I reached out to the staff at the island home, because this is really about the staff functioning in a space. You can't figure out what you need to do if you don't know what the process flow is. This is a highly regulated building. This is not like building a house. You have regulations for the size of rooms, regulations for the size of bathrooms, extra closets on extra areas for housekeeping. So there's a lot of things that you need to be thinking about: education for staff, private conference spaces, flexible spaces. And now with COVID, we need to think about, how has this last run of COVID in the facility, how has that impacted their process and flow? And then how are they going to, what recommendations would they have to make it easier for them to work? So getting the staff involved in all staff, from housekeeping and laundry to operations to nursing to the nurse's aides, social worker, facilities, activity director, etc., kitchen. So everybody's had a say. And clearly this is not the last time we'll be talking to them, but we've got a sense of a direction now. So now I've been reaching out to the different organizations. I've spoken to the town organization, the Rotary, NCEA, Salt Marsh a couple times. I've been invited to the Friends of Our Island Home, Council on Aging. I've attended the family councils at the island home, the resident council at the island home. And I have a list of several other places that I am targeting to have the conversation. And then we're starting on a publicity campaign. We're working on having a flyer that we can pass out to people with some questions. Where is the island home going to be? Where are we proposing that it be? How big is it going to be? And it's still going to be at 45 beds. We're not changing the beds. The state of Massachusetts has determined that 7,000 beds, I believe it is, are what they have allotted the state to have. And we have been licensed for 45. And so that's where that's our beta, that's where we're staying. And then we're looking at, we're a level 2 and 3 nursing home right now, but what other options might there be so that we could offer more services? And again, that's looking at
Excuse me,
base.
can you what's a level 2, level 3, what's a level 1, what does that mean?
So the island home or nursing homes have different levels of care. Level 1 would be a really intensive needing nursing care therapy. Level 2 is a little bit more than level 3, and then level 4 is pretty independent. So mostly they have level 2 and 3. And the main component that they receive down at the Island Home is nursing. And nursing is a skill. A bath is not a skill. So that's one of the things to realize, the importance of nursing care in the nursing home. And the aides work with the nurses to provide the care that the residents need. We have an institutional model for nursing home right now. The trend is more towards independent living. And so we need to make sure that the spaces can promote person-centered care, where they can be functioning, a resident can function at their highest level always. And we need to have a building big enough to be able to do that. The other thing too that I had wanted to say about person-centered care is that, the councils are working really hard to, really advocate for the residents and themselves with administration. They have a new administrator down there and he's doing a great job. So I see good things coming out of there in the future, which is pretty good.
So Brenda, can you just talk about, when I hear, when people are listening and they hear terms like person-centered care, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Person-centered care means nothing about me without me. I have a right as a patient, resident, patient, same thing as the hospital,
Yeah.
to be included in my healthcare decisions, to know what kind of medications I'm on, to have a right to say I don't want it, to have a right to set my bedtime, to eat when I want to eat what I would like to eat. So it's really everything you do is centered around the resident. So that's what it means. I've been a nurse for long enough that I can remember standing up when a doctor came into a nurse's station. And that was a very different, I know. I didn't
See, you're revealing your age. Like
I am revealing my age.
It's like,
but it was a very paternalistic style.
There weren't many women doctors that you were standing up for, I bet.
There were not a lot of women doctors.
Oh.
And, when the doctor said, this is what you're going to do, you'd go, yes, sir. Well, nowadays it's, wait a minute, where am I in this conversation? This is a conversation for the two of us. So that's basically what person-centered care is. Self-determination.
And incidentally, and once again, I kind of digress, but that's, my sense of going to our Island Home. And if you haven't been to other nursing homes, you don't realize the uniqueness of our Island Home, which I attribute to, among other things, the fact that it is town owned, it's publicly owned, and it's so small, so that you just have a feel. I mean, I can understand where the tendency towards having a structure that is institutional feeling just keeps growing the bigger the building grows, because you've got more people, and it's very hard to have a non-institutional 200-person facility, whereas you can do these things here. And then I'd always tell people, I'm on this group, the Friends of Our Island Home. I have never ever heard of a nursing home that has a friends group that is actually devoted to like raising money and spending money to kind of help the programs and stuff at the nursing home. Who does that, right? But it's all a function of the fact that it is not perceived to be this kind of for-profit big thing, that you're kind of is the enemy. It's kind of like we're all in this together, which is a wonderful place to start. It's such a great place to start.
It is a great place to start. And, when I walk down the halls of the Island Home, well, first of all, I think you remember that I, in fact, did work there as a registered nurse.
Yep.
I not only worked there, but I also taught certified nurses aid course for 10 years there. So I was familiar with a lot of the staff at the time. And geriatrics was one of the specialties that I carried with me in my career at the hospital. But the thing that I want to remember, or I remember so much when I'm walking down the halls, is when I see residents in the hallways, I don't just see, it's not as though they don't have an identity or a name for me. They might be my teacher that I had in school, or they might be a classmate that I went to school with, or, a colleague that I worked with at the hospital. So I'm seeing the people that they were and are at that facility, and we're able to connect. And that's a wonderful thing. I mean, it's pretty it's pretty amazing.
And so
You know.
how do you, and so you've been kind of evolving this, right? And how do you kind of translate? Can you give us a couple of examples how when you're thinking about the new place? Obviously, it isn't all designed and it isn't all done, but when you're thinking about it, kind of from a bird's eye view, how do you bring some of those features into a new island home?
Well, you try to decide or you try to figure out what you're going to have for programs and what level of care you're going to be able to have. So for instance, when I see, when I'm looking at, and again, this is just me with ideas, I'll be part of a big team. Okay. I would be able to look and see the level of care that the residents are receiving right now and think about the equipment that they need. When I look at a beautiful facility, that's nice, but where are they going to put the Hoyer lift? Or where are we going to put the wheelchairs? How are we going to store those things? What kind of activities space do they need? And what do they presently have and what's not working? How are dinners working? Do they have the big main dining room? Is that working for everybody? Or do they need some small dining rooms, other places based on the home style nursing home? So those are all ideas in process right now. I remember talking to when we were working on the hospital and we were talking about windows. You don't want to close windows, open windows because of HVAC systems. And I remember saying this at a table with about 35 guys saying, well, we need to be able to open the window a little bit because when we have end of life patients, they need to be able to open the windows and have their souls go out the windows, because from a cultural perspective, that's important. So those are the things that I'm looking at. The difference between an architect and myself and the staff at the nursing home is we know how to take care of patients and residents. And so we're going to take that skill set and be able to translate it into what it means in a new facility. And then, of course, you've always got the regulations that you have to pay attention to. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. But once again, it just gives people kind of a sense of this, because you're not looking. Once again, you're not going to town meeting with drawings and plans and the render. You're really going to town meeting with something kind of broader than that. So can we talk about that a little bit? Can we talk about, I know that you've been working on this program, but actually you've been working once again closely with the town and closely with the members of the Board of Selectmen and stuff, and so just talk about what the discussion is going to be about at the town meeting.
Well, there's two things specifically for the town meeting, and I believe it's warrant article 11. And one is that we are asking, or we want people to approve. The idea is that the island home would be situated, the new island home would be situated on South Shore Road, which is town-owned property in front of Sherburne Commons. So it would be South Shore Road in that area. It was identified that area had the appropriate amount of land to accommodate a new facility. And that.
And by the way, just to orient people, because this is a small island, right? So if I'm driving down the road, right, the road, and there's Sherburne Commons.
Correct.
And there's a driveway going into Sherburne Commons.
Correct. Right? You take that driveway.
Are you talking about the land on the right or the left?
Yes, on the right. On the right, in front.
Right.
Yeah. So if you've gone to the main building, you would have gone too far. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing would be to appropriate money for the design of a building. Now, I know that people have said, well, we've designed buildings. No, they've had ideas about buildings and they've looked at concepts, but we don't have a building specifically because we don't know what else we're going to be able to put in there. And so those are the two things that we would be looking at, And then the plan would be for the Salt Marsh Center to go where the old island home was situated on East Creek Road.
I see. Actually, and once again, while this is all theoretical down the road, would the plan be? And first of all, is that part of that warrant article? Does the warrant article say anything about that, or is this just a kind of a statement of intention by the select?
It's a statement of intention.
If this goes, then that's where that's going to go.
Yes.
And would the sense be that if the Salt Marsh, if the senior center became that location, that the senior center would be in that building, in the island home building, or that
probably not. It would probably be too expensive to convert it.
That would work well, right? I wouldn't think, right?
I think so. Plus, everything needs to be replaced.
Right. So between now and then, do you have the date for town meeting at this point?
May 2nd.
May 2nd. Time's flying between now and then. Kind of
Mhm.
what's your plan? What are you thinking you've still got to do before that meeting happens? Well,
Well, we
first of all,
really,
you came on the Frank and Mary show. Thank you so much.
you're
This is
welcome.
this is a real treat. And so what else has to happen?
So we're working on a communication flyer that will be available to be able to be handed out. We'll go back with more definitive answers for people. We've done a question and answers section in the flyer that we're going to be producing. And then I have a tremendous amount of groups to continue to have, and people from the Salt Marsh and NCEA have said that they would help also get the word out and why it's important. And so we're just going to be, beating the bushes, letting people know that this is happening. It's surprising that people don't even know that this is happening. The other thing we're trying to do is get the island home more visible. It's down there in East Creek. It's a beautiful location, but if you don't have anybody there or you don't work there, you don't really think about it. And so we're really trying to celebrate the staff. Friends of our Island Home are doing a great job getting meals sent down from restaurants to the staff, but we're also trying to, I'm talking to the Rotary about the staff and celebrating the staff, just like any other healthcare provider on the island. I'm talking to the church about celebrating the staff and, really bringing them to the forefront of the Island Home, the staff and the residents and the family members, etc. So just more getting the word out and targeting specific audiences.
That's great. That's great. And I know that you came to the I think the last meeting of the Friends of Our Island Home.
Yeah.
I remember zooming into that.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully someday we really get to do real meetings. I
Be
mean,
nice.
Zoom is handy. And actually so for folks who are watching, I am actually at the NCTV right now. I'm very excited in one of the rooms of one of the staff people, but we couldn't have our show here yet because there's a ton of other stuff that's going on here. And as you know, there's been this kind of huge renovation. And I think, Brenda, kind of from your perspective, one of the things you may really want to think about would be between now and May, if there's anything more that can be done through NCTV to try to give people a sense of kind of what is going on, especially if anything else evolves in terms of plans and stuff, because I think I'm actually on the board here at NCTV. I really like NCTV. It's a really special place, but I think NCTV, like our island home, Nantucket needs our island home. Every community needs this device through
Right.
which, through pictures, through real people, as opposed to just through documents, you can actually be talking to the folks who are at home. And I know that a lot of seniors watch our show, who aren't big, internet, blah, 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 but they watch the show so that they can kind of be in touch. So if folks want to reach out to you and they have any suggestions regarding any of this, or if they want to have a conversation, what should they do? And are you the point person between now
I
and
am the
then?
point person. Yeah, I am the point person. And what you can be guaranteed of is if you send me a question and I'm not able to answer it, I find the person who can answer it for you and get back to you. So my email is oihoutreach@nantucket-mass.gov.
And by the way, we're going to ask the folks at NCTV to put that as a banner so that people can kind of see it.
Okay.
Ideally, right?
Yeah, and if you forget, you can go to the Island Home website. And I would really encourage people to go to the town website and look at the Island Home. There's a tremendous amount of information. There have been people working on this project for 7 years. I just seem to be pushing it forward. They've done a great amount of work, put a lot of thought into it, but now it's time to move forward. And so that's what we're doing.
I remember coming, as a matter of fact, I got asked to join the Friends of Our Island Home by Fran Cartoonin. And this was several years ago, right? And at that time they were talking about, these alternatives for the island home. And I just turned 72 and I'm thinking to myself, am I ever going to see this? I don't know if I'm going to see this.
Oh,
right?
you're going to see it. You're going to see it.
You don't know, because I mean, once again, I do a lot of work in a lot of communities, and
Mm.
sometimes things just kind of keep going on, you know? And that's why when I saw what you were doing, I was kind of heartened, because it just seemed like the goal of the exercise to some extent is to kind of make some decisions and move. That's
Right,
not
right,
making a decision is a decision, and that's not necessarily the best decision. And I think one of the things that I recently heard a comment about this project, and price tags, and of course where the price tags have gone
right,
in the 6 years since I've been watching this project
right,
kind of
right.
kind of be on the side. So I I really, really appreciate your coming on. I think once again, the importance of this is so that folks can kind of see you. I know that you've been here forever, but still, it's amazing how, on a little island where you've been here forever, there's still a lot of people who say, do
Who?
I know? Who are you again? Who are you?
Mm,
So people can just see you,
yeah.
and by the way, for folks like me who still use a phone, is there actually a phone number that somebody can call and check with
So,
you?
yes, you can call my cell phone, and that's 508-325-2991. And you can give my cell phone. I don't answer texts at night,
Right,
just so you know,
right.
unless it's my daughter or my husband. But otherwise, yes, I'm available by phone.
But you and President Biden both answer your cell phones. You both people.
I do answer my cell phone. I'm the
That's
only one with my cell phone.
that's great. So Brenda, thank you so much, folks. I don't have to tell you. This is really important. This is really, really important. Whether you like this or not, this is an important decision. It's going to be there. About how much money are they asking for? Will they be asking for? Do you know, for the plans?
For town meeting, about
Yeah.
$8.5 million, I believe it is.
That's for just the plans.
It's for the plans. We're breaking it down,
Okay.
so that we have a better answer, but that's essentially,
I get it. So we're talking about big money. We're talking about a kind of a major move, both for the island home, and it sounds like for the salt marsh in the longer run. So it's something for, especially if you're like me and you're older and you're thinking, well, these are facilities I might really use. You need to do this. You need to educate yourself. You need to go to town meeting. Brenda, thank you so much for being on. I really, really appreciate it. And good luck over the next few months. I'm
my
trying to convince
pleasure.
my wife to come out so we can watch town meeting. But this will
Well,
be
come on over.
well.
It
I'm gonna have to book a room at the Jared Coffin House real soon, I think, in order to be able to go. So thank you very much, folks. Thank you very much for watching. If you've got
you.
any questions about this, contact her.
Mhm.
Contact her. The best thing about this is the willingness to really get the information out there. So thank you very much, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next installment of Frank and Mary here on Nantucket. Thank you.